Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmates. So here's the continuation of the perceptions in water control. Forward modal. Forward modal are a predictive internal model of motor control that takes the available perceptual information combined with a particular motor program and tries to predict the outcome of the planned motor movement. So forward modals configures and creates action by determining how the forces, velocities, and positions of motor components affects in the environment and in the individual. So what is internal modal sa first? Para mas masabtan na to ang forward modal. Ang kaning internal modal is the theory of motor control. Theory of motor control. The motor system is controlled by the constant interaction of plant and the controller. So ang kaning forward modal, mao ni siya ang predictive internal model sa motor control na nagakuha og available information from our perceptions niya i-combine na niya sa ato ang motor program and tries to i-predict niya ang outcome sa ato ang giplano nga motor movement. So forward modal transform a set of motor commands into a prediction of their outcome. In terms of the sensory referent, the movement will generate. So what is neural controls at first? So neural control is a mechanism of our body, especially our neurons. These neurons generate electric signals that passes from the brain to our muscles. So forward modal can help our neural control. Our body uses neural control along with the mechanical constraints of the body to adjust the stiffness as the body performs various tasks. It has been shown that humans change the stiffness of their limbs as they perform tasks such as hopping, performing accurate pitching tasks, or running on different surfaces. Okay. Stiffness nga pasabot ani is kanang pangpagahi, dili pangpabikog ha. Dili magbikog. Kanang something like kaning forward modal maka-help siya sa neural control sa atong lawas. It is because nagapredict siya, di ba? So once nagapredict siya, nagahatag na siya og command padung sa katong mga muscles nga mga dapat malihok. So katong mga muscles or katong mga body part nga dapat gamiton. So continue. This is a diagram of forward modal. In their simplest form, the forward modal takes the input of a motor command to the plant and output a predictive position of the body. Okay. So para mas masabtan na to ang diagram, the reference input is the desired body position. The plant is the body part being controlled, and the internal modal is considered part of the controller. Right? Okay. So, the forward modal is... Oh, okay. This is another diagram. Wala pa di. The desired position of the body is the reference input to the hypothetical controller, which generates the necessary motor command, and then this motor command is sent to the plant to move the body, and an reference copy of the motor command is sent to a forward modal. The output from the forward modal or the predicted body position is now compared with the output from the plant or the body position. So kani si controller, gikan majuto sa reference input, kaning reference input mo ni siya ang desired body position. So kaning desired body position, ihatag ay musulod na siya sa controller, which is ang internal modal. So diri as a controller, automatic na mag-generate na og necessary motor command. Then kaning motor command automatic na pud na mag-send sa plant og katong information or katong input. Then samtang sending na ang command, mag-send pud ni siya og efferent copy padung sa forward modal. So kaninang mga output sa duha, which is kani si plant o si forward modal, is ma-compare. And after that, kani si forward modal, maghatag ni siya og predicted body position, which is kaning feedback na inyong makita. Padung na siya, pabalik na siya sa desired body position. padung na diri sa body position nga gusto makuha or katong gusto ma-achieve. Oh, because nga na-compare na ni si plant og si forward model, na-compare na ni silang duha, kani si forward model automatic na magbuhat na ni dayon siya og katong predicted body position. Ang kaning noise mo ni siya ang environment kanang from the system or the environment that may cause differences between the actual predicted body position. Ganun. So kanina karong na predicted body position nga gihatag ni forward model, mapadulong ni siya balik sa reference input, which is katong desired body position. Naay feedback na hitabo. Mapadung siya og balik sa desired body position, then automatic na muhatag na day na siya or mudiretso na siya sa katong body position nga nakuha sa tao na achieve or iyang nabuhat na. Okay. So diri as a forward model na ay feedback na hitabo. It is a closed loop. It is a complex and works on the output and modifies it. Okay. So sa inverse model. Inverse model use the desired and the actual position of the body as inputs to estimate the necessary motor commands which would transform the current position into a desired one. Inverse internal models are also in close connection with uncontrolled manifold hypotheses. Alright. For example, diagram. Dili pa. For example, in an arm-reaching task, the desired position or a trajectory of a consecutive positions of the arm is input to the postulated inverse model, and the reverse model generates the motor command needed to control the arm and bring it to the desired configuration. Alright. So this is the inverse model diagram. So this is the desired trajectory of the arm. Musulod na siya sa inverse model. Musulod siya sa inverse model. The desired trajectory of the arm is input to the model which generates the necessary motor commands to control the arm. So because nga ang input is ang desired trajectory sa arm, ang kaning desired trajectory is mo ni siya ang input, then ang kaning input mo agtuday ni siya sa inverse model, which is ang katong inverse model. Then automatic na ang inverse model ang maghatag og motor command para makontrol ang arm. Okay. So inverse models predict the necessary movement of motor components to achieve a desired perceptual outcome. They can also take the outcome of a motion and attempt to determine the sequence of motor commands that resulted in that state. These types of models are particularly useful to open loop control and allow for specific types of movements such as fixating on a stationary object while the head is moving. Complementary to the forward models, inverse models attempt to estimate how to achieve a particular perceptual outcome in order to generate the appropriate motor plan. Okay. So the difference between forward model and inverse model. Inverse model are held to allow the system to determine the motor commands necessary to achieve a desired state, while ang forward models are held to allow the system to predict the expected sensory feedback of a motor command, allowing a rapid error detection when actual and predicted feedback do not match. Okay. So now we are in information-based control. Information-based control is the alternative to model-based control. Informal control strategies organize the movements and actions based on the perceptual information about the environment. So for me, ang information-based control, mauni siya ang nag-organize sa mga movements and actions based na naga-base sa perceptual information about the environment, of course, and also information about the current state sa agent or sa human. Okay? Oh, there. Information-based control this is the actions of motor system are the actions of the motor system are organized by information about the environment and also information about the current state of the agent. Yes. So the core assumption of the information-based control is that perceptions of the environment are rich in information and veridical for the purposes of producing actions. This runs counter to the assumptions of indirect perception made by model-based strategies. So, okay. In information-based control, there are two main ideas, which is first is the direct perception and second is the behavioral dynamics. First, direct perception. Okay, direct perception. Direct perception in the cognitive sense is related to the philosophical notion of naive or direct realism in that it is predicated on the assumption that what we perceive is what is actually in the world. Direct perception suggests that the relevant information encoded in sensory signals is not the physical properties of objects, but rather the opportunities the environment affords. Okay. So Mr. James Gibson, 1966, states that the perception is direct and not subject to hypothesis testing. There is enough information in our environment to make sense of the world in direct way. His theory is sometimes known as ecological theory because of the claim that perception can be explained solely in terms of the environment. Okay. The role of perception is to provide information that specifies how actions should be organized and controlled, and the motor system is turned to respond to specific type of information in particular ways. So for example, ani, is that kunyari nakita ta og poop sa iro. Then nakita ta og poop sa iro. Then automatic na atong buhaton ana is mulikay sa poop sa iro. Why? Because mao man na siya ang ato ang basta mo na siya ang mabuhat automatic sa ato ang lawas. Okay. So kana siya ang explanation ana is gikan sa information from our perception or vision makabuhat dayon ta og specific action or specific response gikan sa ato ang perceptual information. Okay. So kato siya kunyari nakakita ta og poop sa iro. Automatic nga ato na siya likayan. Kay mo man na siya ang ato ang response, mo na ang specific response sa ato ang body, sa ato ang gikan sa perceptual information. Ganon. So, okay. Another example is that a doorway affords passing through. Affords. Mo na siya something like gihatag sa environment or something mahatag. Yeah, like nga na. A doorway affords passing through, but a wall does not. How one might pass through a doorway is specified by the visual information received from the environment, as well as the information perceived about one's own body. Together, this information determines the passability of a doorway, but not the wall. Diba? Like, ang direct perception manggod, ang iha magong gina-state manggod sa direct perception diri is ang environment na ang naghatag sa imuha og information. Environment na ang naghatag sa here. The role of perception is to provide information that specifies how action should be organized and controlled, and the motor system is turned to respond to specific type of information in particular ways. So ayun. So sa environment pa lang na nakita sa to ang perception, nakita sa to ang mata. Makita na to nga ang doorway maghatag na siya og passability, makahatag na siya og makaagita sa doorway, but dili sa wall. Kay ang wall wala tay makita, dili na to makita nga makalapos ta. Ang doorway makalapos ta. Ana lang. So, okay. Continue to behavioral dynamics. Behavioral dynamics is a behavior control theory that treats perceptual organisms as dynamic systems that responds to informational availables with actions in functional manner. Under this understanding of behavior, actions unfold as the natural consequence of the interaction between the organisms and the available information about the environment, which specified in body relevant variables. Okay, body relevant variables. So for me, kani si behavioral dynamics, mo na siya ang actions in the natural actions. Ang actions daw is natural consequence sa interactions between sa organisms and the environment. Okay. So, much of the research in behavioral dynamics has focused on locomotion, where visually specified information such as optic flow, time to contact, optical expansion, etc. is used to determine how to navigate the environment. Interaction forces between the human and the environment also affect behavioral dynamics as seen by the neural control of limb stiffness. So, ang example ng dyan aning behavioral dynamics is that ang locomotion na to. Yeah, because nga interaction, ang behavioral dynamics is nag-focus or nag-idea siya sa interactions between the environment and the organisms, mo na siya ang natural consequence. So kato. Like for example, walking. Magdagan ka, ay maglakaw ka. Natural, maglakaw ka, kay na kay padulngan. Mo na siya ang consequence sa katong gibuhay, sa katong imuhang thought nga na kay padulngan. So dapat maglakaw ka. Okay. So, kani si behavioral dynamics, mas nag-focus siya sa actions. Ang actions daw kay natural consequence sa interaction between sa environment and the organisms, living organisms. While ang direct perception is Well, ang direct perception is that kanang once kapag makita ni mga direct perception is that ang environment na ang maghatag og information para sa atua ganun. So I hope nakatuon mo sa kuang report, and that's all. Thank you.